What up, though, Detroit? So, you already know the deal. Just giving a shout out to Petty Tupac TV. Like, comment, subscribe. You already know the deal. We have to support everybody's businesses, and you already know how it goes. We support each other. You know what I'm saying? Make Detroit win.
I'm gonna read you this guy case, and there's just the point of, why would you take it to trial? This guy's not want to accept reality, like, I'm going to be gone at least 18, 20 years. They offered this guy 18, 16 for the body. 20 years. 18 for the body, 2 for the gun. 20 years. Instead, he went to trial and got bam with 46 years. 46. His outdate is 2058. Elon Musk gonna have cars flying around his joint. Let's read this. The present case arises from the shooting of Vincent Green and Anthony Brooks in connection with the operation of a drug organization. In particular, defendant's cousin, Tyrese Thornton, was the leader of a drug organization involving the sale of heroin from 3 homes in Detroit. The victims, Green and Brooks, along with the third man, Charlton Hunt, have been selling drugs from a vacant house on Minden Street in Detroit. Defendant and co-defendants Charles Howard were also involved with the drug organization. Defendant, in particular, was in charge of collecting money from the house, paying the workers, and dropping off the drugs. The defendant is Michael Lewis, for y'all that ain't caught on. Thornton was deceased at the time of trial. At trial, Howard testified for his role in the present case. He pled guilty to 1 count of second-degree murder. On December 22, 2012, defendant and Howard went to the Minden Street house to collect drug money from heroin sales at the house. When they arrived to the house, they remained outside in the vehicle and spoke with Green, who told them that Hunt had the money. Defendant called Hunt, who then came to the house and retrieved $2,060 from a hiding place in the attic. Now, y'all do the math, right? $2,060. Defendant expected to receive $2,400. It's $340 off. I mean, it's a big deal in the streets, but is it worth doing 46 years? Right? Defendant expected to receive $2,400, and Brooks was called on the telephone about the missing money. When Brooks did not answer the call, defendant and Howard, who was armed with a baseball bat, went into the home with Green and left Hunt outside. Inside the house, Howard hit Green with a baseball bat and searched Green for the money. Defendant then told Hunt to bring Brooks to the house. Patrice Carter, Green's girlfriend, who had been in the back room of the house, was allowed to leave the home before Brooks arrived. Now, before I continue, one of those guys, I'm not going to say who, because this is actually, inside information. It don't matter now, but it's not in the report. One of the homies said, kill her and get her out the way. And another dude said, no, let her leave. If it wasn't for the living victim and her, they wouldn't have got convicted. Right? Now, defendant then told Hunt to bring Brooks to the house. Patrice Carter, Green's girlfriend, who had been in the back room of the house, was allowed to leave. Okay, I said it again. When Hunt returned to the house with Brooks, Brooks went inside while Hunt again stayed outside. Inside the house, Howard beat Brooks with a baseball bat. Defendant then shot Green 3 times and then shot Brooks twice with a .40 caliber gun. After shooting Brooks, defendant shot Green 4 more times, and then before leaving the house, defendant shot Brooks again. Green died as a result of the gunshot wounds. Brooks survived and was taken to the hospital after he called his grandmother for help. Before trial, Brooks identified defendant in a live lineup, and Howard named defendant as the shooter in a statement to the police. At trial, both Brooks and Howard identified defendant as the shooter. Howard also testified that one day, when he and defendant were both in court at the same time, he received a letter from defendant offering to pay him to testify that Hunt shot the victims. Howard read this letter to the jury. Further, although Carter did not witness the shooting, she identified defendant at the trial as one of the men in the home that night, and she testified that she saw defendant with a gun before she left the home. Hunt, who could hear gunshots and sounds of beating from inside the house, also identified defendant as one of the men who came to the home that evening, and Hunt testified the defendant and Howard came out of the home after shots were fired. In contrast, defendant testified on his own behalf at trial. Defendant admitted to dealing drugs for Thornton, but he denied shooting anyone. He claimed that on the night in question, Thornton came to the house with two friends and Thornton shot the victims because he had discovered that Brooks was working for someone else. In his testimony, defendant admitted to offering to pay Howard to name someone else as the shooter. Right there, you should have asked your lawyer to cop out to a plea. You can cop out to a plea in the middle of trial if y'all don't know that. A jury convicted defendant as noted above. He now appeals the right. In this case, viewed in the light most favorable to the prosecution, the evidence was clearly sufficient to establish the defendant's identity as the shooter. 4 eyewitnesses placed the defendant at the scene of the shooting. 4 eyewitnesses, including who you went there with. Carter specifically saw the defendant with a gun shortly before the shooting, and 2 of the witnesses expressly identified the defendant as the shooter. To begin with, Howard, who had a long acquaintance with the defendant, went to the home with the defendant. Howard admitted to using a baseball bat on the victims. He was present for the shootings, and he identified defendant as the shooter. Likewise, Brooks also identified defendant as the shooter. Brooks knew defendant, and he had seen defendant every day between Thanksgiving and the shooting on December 22nd. Brooks made the police describe as an instant identification of defendant in the pretrial lineup. He named the defendant as a shooter in a statement to the police in the hospital, and at trial, Brooks described lying on the ground facing defendant while defendant stood over him. Brooks testified that he did not have any doubt that it was the defendant who shot him. Direct eyewitness testimony from Brooks and Howard positively identified the defendant as the shooter was sufficient to support his convictions. In addition to the testimony from Brooks and Howard, the defendant conceded in his own testimony that he was at the house at the time of the shooting. He even told on himself that he was there. Further, although Hunt was not inside the house at the time of the shooting, he testified that the defendant was present that evening. The defendant emerged from the home with Howard after shots were fired, and that is in contrast to the defendant's theory of this case. Thornton was not at the house. Furthermore, Carter was inside the house before the shooting. She testified at trial defendant came to get her out of the back room of the house, that when he did so, he had a gun on him. Carter identified the defendant at trial, and she specifically recalled the tattoo on his neck, which the jury was able to view when defendant was instructed to show the jury his neck. Taken together, evidence from Carter and Hunt clearly places defendant at the scene of the shooting in possession of the gun, while Howard, for example, was consistently described, even by defendant, as carrying a baseball bat, and no one but the defendant Thornton as the shooter. Nobody named Thornton as the shooter. On the whole, given Brooks and Howard's eyewitness testimony naming defendant as the shooter, particularly when coupled with evidence from Carter and Hunt, the evidence was sufficient to establish defendant's identity as the shooter in the case, and consisting the sufficiency of the evidence on appeal. Not only did you tell on yourself that you said that you was there, your co-defendant told on you, the girl told on you, the other dude told, like, all y'all told on each other. And I was locked up with 2 of the individuals. That was Howard and Lewis. Howard was one of my close buddies. I put a lot of secure packs in his name. Cool dude. And he about that action. He's about that action. That's why I tell y'all the streets is a myth. People know he told. They ain't do nothing to him. Don't think that because you told somebody gonna do something to you. No. Streets is a myth. Troy Ave is absolutely right. The streets is a myth. Stop it. Howard E. We're going to say his whole name, but defendant Howard, well, we already said his whole name. Howard, Charles Howard, about 6'3", 300 pounds. Gangster. I love him. Love him to death. When it was time to put in work, he was right there. About to do it if the situation didn't get solved. Did a lot of good business together. Cool with dude. Mike soft-ish. Soft. Pretty boy. He was getting money. They was all getting money. But you see how one bad mistake can take you down a road you never expected to go down, my baby. Never. Stay free. Stay active in the community. Stay active taking care of your family and your children so they don't have to go down this route. Think about it. I want y'all to go do being short $340 divided by 42 years. I want y'all to go do that. And tell me the answer in the comments. Tell me the answer in the comments. And ask me, was it worth it? Y'all know I give it to y'all real. I don't be trying to be like, because I got a street reputation and I got an inmate reputation. I don't be telling y'all like, oh man, I'm super tough. I'm a killer. I'm a gangster. Yeah, be gangster. The street life, the way to go. I'm not trying to be an active gang banger. I'm not trying to be with none of this weird stuff, because I'm telling you, it's not worth it at the end of the day. And in the rap, I said, all this loyalty, the fidelity given in these days got me reclusive, sitting back and bitter. Streets are a myth. Point blank, period. They're a myth. Peace and blessings be upon y'all. Big fat.